Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here this morning. We've got a great show lined up. It's Friday, end of the week, and our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. But talking about the end of the week, this has been the hottest, according to a couple of meteorologists, it's been the hottest week we've had all summer as far as the temperature. It's been really blazing hot. Fortunately, we've had a little bit of a breeze to help some, but it's going to be hot again today. Get up to 94, lows could be 78, and water temperature jumped back up a degree. It's 87 with the water temperature. Our river reading brought to us by Mountain Dew. Take it outside with Mountain Dew. We're looking at Apalachicola, Bluntstown, just like yesterday, real steady. It's at a 3.4. And take a look at it, Choctaw at Caryville, 1.6. Now, it's getting really dry over there. If you don't get some rain, it's going to start flowing up the creek, it looks like. But it's really, really low in the Choctawhatchee. We'll have a report from Larry Brown later on in the show about what's going on over that way. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn, right here on 23rd Street. We're looking at the situation today, a good high tide at 7:41 this morning and falling out till 2:19 after lunch. So got a pretty good tide today and tomorrow, and look at next week's tides look real strong also. Our marine forecast, north-northwest at about 5. Let's take a break and be right back. Welcome back, folks. It's a good Friday morning, and Captain Rick Corley with us.
Good morning.
Good morning, buddy.
Yeah.
Rick's pretty flexible. He can come on about any time since he's retired, and we're glad to have you this morning. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and some drawings to do later on, and pictures and some great stories. So let's get started. Let's look at some of these pictures first. We want to go ahead and take a look at this. You know, with the hurricane coming down in South Florida, people started getting ready. And you know, the big thing now is the protected windows. They saw it in Panhandle, what happened when the window's blown out, the roof comes out. So what these folks did, they took the wood fence down. I thought this was very creative. There's a wood fence on the left side, that's where the wood fence was, and they put the wood fence panels on the house. Now that's very smart.
Yeah.
And then when the hurricane's over, they just take the fence back down and nail it back up.
Put it back up.
You stop and think about that now. That's not a bad idea.
No.
Jackie Wingate, her dad, the legendary Jack Wingate, in 1966, said these were normal size. Up at Lake Seminole, he was quite a fella.
Yep.
Listen, this is interesting. 10,874 people killed by drunk drivers in 2017, and 403 by rifles. Walmart stopped selling rifles, but it still sells alcohol. Think about that.
Yeah.
And then while we're on this subject, as Walmart announced that it will stop selling many types of guns and ammo, we'd like to remind you that there's likely a locally owned gun shop near you that deserves your money more anyway. So we're always talking about local business and all. I'm going to talk about this dove shoot later on. Here's a good one right here. Captain Kim sent this from Carabel. Mike got lucky with one of the SPRO squid tails.
Wow.
Oh, nice job.
Yeah,
it was not a tournament, just a good fishing weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Captain Kim. The Choctawhatchee report, we got all that. Okay, that just had a couple of pictures and all. So, Rick, what have you been up to lately?
Well, enjoying retirement a little bit, and put myself on a diet and get back down to, I'm going to try to get just under 200 pounds.
Good for you.
Yeah, well, I was getting a little sluggish and borderline diabetic, and I said, "Ooh, no, I don't want that." So I got to drop some weight, and I have.
Yeah, well, that's good for you, and that's something we all need to talk about. You just got to try to eat healthy and stay active. It's important, especially as you get older and all, to be able to do. If you got to continue working outside and inside and all.
Well, at our age too, you start having health problems if you don't watch real close, and you're still probably gonna have some, even just because of the age. But
yeah, we're talking about feedback from our viewers and all. A couple of days ago, I asked about if anybody knows anyone that's still making paddles. I didn't clarify myself because yesterday when Rusty Russell was on, he thought I meant paddles that the teachers use. I'm talking about boat paddles. And Miller Nixon was legendary at Mowat for using a paddle. And I had some emails later on about after the show when I said Millard was here. But I do have two people have replied to that. We have a guy up here. Well, I got a call yesterday from Chandler Borders down here in Weewall, okay? He makes paddles, live on 7th Street, and I'll get you his number and all, but Charles, I'm sorry, Charles. I can't read my writing. Charles Borders makes paddles on 7th Street, and I'll get the number to you and everything. And when I'm talking about boat paddles now, okay? Boat paddles out of cypress and juniper, and not many people doing that. No. It's a lost art.
Yeah.
We also have a fellow up here up in Westville. I'll get his address. A fellow up there in Westville that makes them sculling oars, okay? One-piece sculling oars. Yeah. And I'll get that information to you about one Monday show. I'll get it to you and all the information. So that'll be some good stuff there. So also we got an email from Steve Notzenmeyer from Santa Rosa Beach. He wants to. I'm gonna put you in the pickle jar. And next week now we're gonna start giving away some of our start our fall sweepstakes next week. We're about 2 weeks away. Well, I might need to wait. First day of fall is always on September the 23rd. And I'm gonna go and give one next week just to sort of get y'all excited. But we're on fall sweepstakes with all kind of cool stuff we're gonna be giving away. So don't forget to enter. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and take our break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Don't forget now, Saturday, tomorrow is saltwater license free in the state of Florida. So you can go fish anywhere in saltwater and don't have to have a license. So remember that. Also, we need some information, how we're good about sharing information. You did great on giving me information on boat paddles. Had a good loyal viewer, Greg Taylor, a good friend of mine. He's sort of like me. He wants to know about these dove shoots. We all grew up doing dove shoots and all, and they're sort of not very many left. And if anybody's having a dove shoots over the week, like a club or something, or going to open up your farm, I'm talking about paid. People will pay to go to these things now. So keep in mind people having dove shoots. And I know in South Georgia, I got a buddy from Quincy, old high school buddy. He goes up in South Georgia and he just hunts. He's got a great situation. They got a schedule where one week is a farm at Attapuggles, next week a farm in Bainbridge. They go over South Georgia the whole dove season. It's an amazing setup, but that's a club over there. But anyway, two more pictures real quick. I didn't show this one. We want to show it's scallop season. This is a young fisherman, Mr. Aiden Harrison from Freeport. And Bunker had a good day at St. Joe this week. He got a good bag of scallops. Would have been more, but he likes them raw. Ain't that a great picture?
Yeah.
Folks, the scallops have been phenomenal this year. They haven't been great. They've been phenomenal.
Good.
And then one more, coming from Howard Creek, Royce Bass caught these fly fishing with Greg D'Amico, Shellcracker Slough. We call them out of Shellcracker Slough now. Y'all know where that is. Okay. So that leads us up to a fishing report. Before we get to that, though, let's jump back into time. We're talking about future fishing, but this past Monday right here, the tarpon, and tarpon whale. Yeah. It was 82 years ago this past September 2nd, and the tarpon, that's when it sank, 82 years ago this week. So I just wanted to show that to you. That comes from the Carabel History Museum, and good for them for having a history museum and honoring stuff like that. Speaking of honoring people and honoring things and all, recently we lost Captain Grover Davis.
Yes, sir. We lost the Prince of Bay County. And
so tell us about you. Let's talk about your side of it, about how you knew him and all, the Davis family. This is a great story.
Well, we opened up Tom Rick Motel Marina and Grand Lagoon Shipyard, where Lighthouse Marina and Grand Marlin Restaurant is now, back in 1954. And Dad built Grand Lagoon Shipyard right after that. And so in about 1956 or 7, we started hauling most of the fishing boats, and we hauled the Davis fleet. Of course, the Davis fleet back then was 3 boats. Yeah. They had the Queen of Queen, New Dixie Queen, and I believe it was Queen of the Seas. Not positive of that, but it was one of the old style, like the old Cap Mountain Zero. But anyway, along about 58, I think, maybe give or take 6 months or a year, Captain George came out, and I happened to be working the desk at the motel. I was like 14, but they would let me, rent the rooms and stand, for lack of a better word, watch for the motel. And Dad was in there at the kitchen table, and Captain George came up, Grover's father, and says, "Is your dad in?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, and in the kitchen, said, "I'd like to talk to him." I said, "Come on in." So he went in, and he said, "Captain Tom," he says, "I got a problem." He said, "You know, we're building that new boat," and he says, "I'm pretty much got a cash flow problem." And Dad says, "Well, okay, what can I help you with?" He said, "Well," he said, "right now I don't have the money to pay you, but I got 3 boats I got to get through the Coast Guard inspection, and we need to haul them out and get the things done that they want done." He says, "If you'll do that for me and carry me till after the 4th of July, I'll have enough money to pay you." And he said, "I'll give you a bonus."
It's such a seasonal thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he says, "I'll give you a bonus." Well, the bonus he mentioned was pretty hefty. I mean, it for that time, it was a nice bonus. Dad says, "Captain George says, bring your boats." Now, they just shook hands. There wasn't no contracts or any of that. It was just a handshake. Well, Dad, we did everything to the boats. We hauled them out. This was like in February. And got them done. Yeah, they were ready to go by, I think, 1st of March. Well, sure enough, I happened to be working the desk again right after 4th of July weekend that year. And here comes Captain George. He says, "Your dad in?" I said, "Yes, sir." He's back there at the kitchen table. I said, "Go on in." He got the coffee hot. So he sat down and he counted out the money on each invoice for the boats. And then he laid that bonus money on top. And he said, "Captain Tom, you saved me." He says, "I was in a bind," and he says, "I was overextended at the bank at the time because they building that new boat." He says, "I didn't know what I was going to do." He says, "I really appreciate you." Dad said, "Well, everything went all right?" He said, "Yes, sir." So he picked up the bonus money on top, handed it back to Captain George, says, "I appreciate you. I'll see you next year with all your boats again."
How about that?
And gave it back. Well, to extend the show and show you what kind of person Grover Davis was. Grover was only 16, but he happened to be with him both times. And Grover and I used to, you know, he was a few years older than me, but we would play with my electric trains when he was there and that kind of stuff. Well, sure enough, in 1993, Dad had decided to build a stern wheeler. And I think you got a picture of it there. See if you can find, yeah, that's it. Take the other, that one right there.
Okay, I'll get to it.
Anyway, so we go into, Dad had decided he wanted to build that boat for the Columbus, Georgia. They had 4 of the Olympics events there.
Right, that's right.
And they had the new river walk they built, so he wanted to put a boat up there. And he started out on a stern wheeler. So Grover ran into us at the West Building and says, "What are you doing, Captain Tom, these days? You enjoying retirement?" He says, "I ain't retired." He said, "I'm fixing to build me a stern wheel 73-foot showboat."
Now, how old was your dad at that time?
84, going on 85.
Okay.
And Grover says, "Well, where you gonna build it?" He says, "Well, I got that empty lot next to my house. We'll build it there." He said, "Well, how you gonna turn the boat over when you build them upside down and then flip the hull?" He said, "How you gonna turn it over?" He said, "I'll get Grice heavy equipment, come out there with a couple of cranes, we'll flip it." He said, "Well, how you gonna get it to the water?" He said, "Well, I'll get Foster and had his house moving business and bring that lowboy and we'll move it to the lagoon." He said, "I got a better idea." He said, "What's that?" He says, "Come out there to Queencraft, I'll show you where you can build it." And he said, "You'll be able to drop stuff and you can use the warehouse, because we're not using all of it. And you won't have to worry about rain or weather, and we got planing tools and all that." You know, he had full shipyard service. And Dad looked at him and says, "Grover," says, "That's nice, but," he said, "I can't afford that." He said, "Did I ask you to pay for it?" He said, "Well, why would you do that?" He said, "Well, you don't remember. In 1958, my dad was in a bind, and you got him out and could have kept the bonus, but you gave the bonus back. You just charged the regular price." And he says, "You were a big help to us." He says, "I'd like to see you build a boat, because I might learn something from an 84-year-old man building a boat." Well, he built the boat there. They flipped the hull, launched it. He finished it upside. Of course, in the meantime, I'd had to go to Africa. I had to carry 48,000 tons of rice over there. And so when I got back, they had finished up. I did the stability trials with the Coast Guard and all, and got the boat certified, and we took it up the river, and we ran about 6 trips and there was a colonel out of Fort Benning retiring out of the boat division of the Army, and he decided, he said, I'd like to have that boat, so we sold it to him. And it stayed at Lake Point for a long time, but then they didn't do, whoever he sold it to didn't do the proper maintenance, and Formosan's termites got in it and ate it up, and it wound up being hauled out up and sit there till it turned into a pile of junk. But my dad really only wanted to build a boat.
Yeah.
He started out on in 1919.
That was his bucket list one.
That is.
Well, it goes back to show you the character of the men in this kind of business. Just a handshake and just do what was right. And we need more of that this day.
That's what we're missing today is your word is your bond.
Yeah.
And I don't care all the paperwork in the world by every lawyer in the world. If he's
There's a picture of your dad right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
If he ain't worth anything, you know, I've been lucky enough to go to 95 of 193 countries in the world.
Yeah.
Between surveying, flying, military, and the things I did, and ship's captain. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, the only thing that separates people is not race, it's character. If you weren't raised right, you ain't worth spit, as they say.
How old did your dad live to?
He was 93.
96. Great
93.
Picture. Okay, and then here's a picture of
That's Grover.
This is
Grover was about 4 months from turning 78. But I'm telling you, the one thing I liked about that guy, his people that worked for him, if they made a mistake, the first thing he had out of his mouth was, "Did you learn?"
Did you learn anything?
That's right. Did you learn anything?
They brought that up at the services.
He was a principled fellow. He treated people fair, and he really did love his employees. He liked everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, and a mechanical genius.
Well,
absolutely.
The funeral service is quite an honor to him.
Yes,
Let's take our final break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's look at our fishing game times today from Blue Water Outriggers. We're looking at 6:50 to 8:50 this morning, and this evening from 7:17 to 9:17. It's Friday. So you know what we do on Friday? We do a tarpon dock seafood draw, and the first winner will be a $20.
You say you want two?
No, just one right now, one at a time. And that's going to be, what name you got? Ned Maxwell from Chattahoochee. Good folks up there in Chattahoochee, $20 gift certificate.
I bet he's doing the hoochie coochie on Chattahoochee.
That's probably it. Okay, this has been a red snapper. A red snapper. Big old,
red snapper.
Pretty red snapper. Who's that winner? From Ebro. Leonard Dean from Ebro. So Chattahoochee and Ebro are winners. Okay, good job, fellas. And let's look quickly at our fishing report. I got a good report from Larry Brown on the Choctawhatchee. We have what he said here. Fishing is picked up on the east end of the bay. There's a lot of bait to follow the birds. So follow those birds. How many times we're talking about follow the birds? There's also lots of dolphin in Choctawhatchee Bay.
Whoa.
The river temperature is in high 70s and the color is good. Now, with it being low like that, the Choctawhatchee River is in good shape. And the last thing you put down, please pick up any trash. And we all, as outdoorsmen, we have that code among ourselves. It's just those other folks, they got to understand the code too. Yep. The other things I wrote down on the fishing report last night, I was putting it together. Fly fishing down on both rivers, freshwater. Now we're talking about fly fishing is excellent. We've had that north wind this week, and it's sort of blowing in. It's been strong blowing in from the other direction. So all the little insects and all been on one side of the leaf, but sort of blown off. So they've had some good reports on. If you understand what I mean, it blew from a different angle and blew off the bugs into the water. Catfishing has been picking up, really good catfishing. Okay, near shore, the mahi bite continues to be good. Anytime you go offshore, just a little bit offshore, a couple miles, you'll see that those floating objects.
If you get debris or a tide line, run that tide line, and once you get one hooked, don't boat him till you get another one.
There you go.
And you'll just keep catching mahi.
That's good eating and a lot of fun to catch.
My favorite.
Hathaway Bridge and Tyndall Bridge has been really a hot spot. Some divers went down the other day and they saw a bunch of tarpon had been around. A lot of people catching tarpon around the bridge now. Both bridges, and of course redfish bite has been really strong in the base this past week. Okay, let's see. I believe that's all I have for that report.
You know, there's a ridge line down there in St. George Island Sound
Yeah.
Right there off Carabel area. And if the tarpon are running, that's a good place too.
That's one of the best places in the Panhandle, in that
Yep.
Carabel area. It's a pretty well kept secret.
Yep.
But it is an excellent place there, and then off the tip of the St. Joseph Peninsula right there. And I don't have time to get into scallops. I will say this, it's been a bountiful year.
Good.
They are finding them. This year they're finding some along the peninsula, okay? And on Monday's map, if you're going this weekend, the Blacks Island area be, again, always good, and also the peninsula all along. They're smaller than what I like for them to be. The meat is small.
Right.
The shell's about the average size, but the meat is smaller. And we don't really know why. Red tide, no red tide reports. Everything's clear. There is some, advisories, health advisors here in St. Andrew Bay.
Yep.
We've had some problems here, so make sure to get that cleared up before you go. Let's see what else. Chipotle River, I haven't got any reports. If anybody up that way, Lake Seminole, and didn't get a report this week, but it's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
And if you get a chance, so go early tomorrow morning if you get a chance. Floundering, I haven't really heard much on flounder. The mullet, you seen any mullet jumping out your way? They're just starting. This is September now, so the mullet are they're starting to get together. Fall, like I said, it'll be 2 weeks from now, and I will within 2 or 3 weeks we'll have some good mullet reports.
That's a fish that if you catch him, cook him the same day.
Ain't that the truth?
Yes.
And the old timers, they made a living. I mean, how many old timers ate mullet?
Whew.
That's about all of them I ever
Any
knew.
of them you ever saw.
They loved.
As a kid, we used to go across the lagoon, and there was an old hermit lived over there in the state park.
Yep.
And us kids would go over there. He would have mullet, cathead biscuits with sorghum syrup, some grits.
He lived there a long time, didn't he?
And would absolutely fry some mullet that morning. And that's a pretty good breakfast.
Yeah, it is. And we run out of time, Rick. Thank you, buddy, for coming on.
Absolutely.
Have a good weekend. Thank you all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. Do something good today for your fellow man. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.